Hello, sweet listeners. I'm Sam, your narrator for the long, dark hours when the rest of the world pretends to sleep. Your guide through the hours when the world forgets to breathe. Outside your window, the night is heavy. The moon is only a fingernail, scratching at the dark. You locked the doors, didn't you? You checked them twice, but you still pressed play. That was brave or foolish. The stories waiting tonight have been pacing in the shadows since last Thanksgiving, hungry, patient. And they know your name, so pull the covers to your chin, turn your pillow to the cold side, and leave just one small light, if you dare, because once I begin, the dark listens with us. Welcome, my darling, to another night of quiet, crawling horror. I'll stay right here, whispering against your ear, until the sun remembers to rise, or until something else finds you first. Shall we begin? Story 1. The empty chair. They say the dead come home for Thanksgiving. Tonight, there's an extra place set at the table, and no one in my family remembers putting it there. My grandmother died last November, the day after the holiday. We buried her in the little cemetery behind the cornfield, under the crooked oak she used to call the Watcher. This year, Mom insisted we keep tradition alive. Same long pine table, same orange candles, same chipped turkey platter. But when we carried the food in from the kitchen, there were 7 chairs instead of 6. An 8th had appeared at the head, Grandma's old rocking chair dragged in from the parlor. A plate waited in front of it, empty. Knife and fork laid perfectly parallel. We laughed nervously. "Dad, did you do this?" Dad shook his head. My sister Claire whispered that maybe the neighbors were pranking us. We sat down anyway, because the turkey was getting cold and the storm outside was rattling the windows hard enough to wake the dead. That's when the rocking started. Slow, rhythmic. The chair moved by itself, creaking like old bones. The candle nearest it guttered, though there was no draft. Mom reached to steady the flame and froze. On Grandma's plate, a single handprint appeared in the thin layer of dust, small, arthritic, unmistakable. The fingers were too long. We should have left then. Instead, Dad, always the rational one, said, "It's just the house settling." He stood to push the chair back to the parlor. As he touched it, the rocking stopped dead. Silence swallowed the room. Then a voice, dry as fallen leaves, came from the empty seat. "I saved you the dark meat, Daniel." Dad's childhood nickname for the turkey's back. No one alive knew it except Grandma. One by one, the candles went out. In the dark, plates began to fill themselves. Slices of meat sliding from nowhere, glistening red, piling higher than physics allowed. Cranberry sauce oozed across the tablecloth in the shape of a screaming mouth. And the handprint on Grandma's plate turned over, palm up, waiting. Claire screamed first. Something cold wrapped around her ankle under the table. Mom lunged for her, but the table lifted, legs screeching across the floor, and pinned Mom to the wall like a crucifix. Dad grabbed the carving knife. The blade snapped in his hand. I ran. I'm still running through the cornfield behind the house, stalks whipping my face raw. Behind me, the windows glow orange again. I hear singing. My family's voices, off-key, joined by one more that cracks like dead branches. They're saving me a plate, and the empty chair is waiting. Story 2. The blessing. If you hear someone give thanks in your house tonight, make sure it's a living voice. I live alone now. Parents gone, siblings scattered. I still cook a small Thanksgiving dinner for one. A Cornish hen, boxed stuffing, a single slice of pumpkin pie. Tradition is stubborn, even when it's lonely. This year, the power went out at dusk. No problem, candles, fireplace, the cozy illusion of pioneer life. I set my little plate on the coffee table and sat on the couch. That's when I heard it. A soft knock, 3 taps. Then my own voice from inside the house saying grace. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts. But I hadn't spoken. My lips were closed. The voice came from the kitchen, warm and familiar, the way I sounded when I still believed someone was listening. I crept to the doorway. The kitchen was empty. My plate sat untouched. Yet steam rose from food that had been cold 5 minutes ago. Another knock, inside the pantry this time. I opened it. Nothing but cans and darkness. I laughed at myself. Stress, grief, too many horror podcasts. I returned to the living room. My Cornish hen was gone. Only greasy bones remained, picked clean, arranged in a perfect circle. In the center, written in congealed gravy, again. The voice spoke from right behind me, warm breath on my neck. Let's say it together this time. I spun. No one, but every light in the house flickered on at once, every bulb, even the burnt-out ones, blinding white. And in that glare, I saw them, dozens of me. Pale copies standing in every corner, every mirror, every shadow. Each held an empty plate. Their mouths moved in perfect unison. For what we are about to receive, something sat down on the couch, the cushions depressed. I smelled my mother's perfume, my father's aftershave, my childhood dog who died when I was 9. They were all here, wearing my face, starving. I ran upstairs, slammed the bedroom door, shoved the dresser against it. Silence. Then the soft clink of silverware on china right outside the door. A chorus of my own voice, gentle, coaxing. Come down, sweetheart. The food's getting cold, and we've waited all year for family. They're still downstairs. Every so often, the knocking moves. 1 knock for every Thanksgiving I've ever had. 29 so far. I'm 30 this year. They're saving the big one for me. Story 3 Finale. The Corn Mother. You already know the rule. Everyone who's ever lived on this stretch of county road knows it. Never take the last ear from the field on Thanksgiving Eve, because the Corn Mother keeps count. Last year the Harwoods broke that rule. Tonight, she's coming to collect the rest. I'm the one who found what was left of them. I wish I hadn't. My name is Ruth Ann Carver. I've farmed this land 41 seasons. My daddy farmed it before me, and his daddy before him. We all learned young. When the frost first kisses the corn and the stalks go silver, you harvest clean rows, never random. You leave the final ear standing alone in the middle of the patch, still husked, still growing, an offering, a promise. The Harwoods thought it was superstition. City people always do. Thanksgiving Eve 2024. I was burning last year's stalks in the back 40 when I saw flashlights bobbing in their field. Tom Harwood and his 2 teenage boys laughing, drunk on cheap bourbon and the romance of country living. They were yanking ears like it was a carnival game. I shouted across the fence. Tom just raised a golden cob in salute and yelled, "Found dinner, Ruth. Want one?" I told him to put it back. He laughed harder. His youngest, Ethan, 13 and all elbows, found the very last ear, tall, perfect, impossibly ripe after frosty. He held it over his head like a trophy. The husk peeled itself back in the wind, revealing kernels so red they looked wet. Ethan whooped and bit straight into it raw. Blood, real blood, ran down his chin. He didn't seem to notice. That night the screaming started. I thought it was a fox caught in a trap at first. Then I realized the sound was coming from inside a human throat, but stretched wrong, like corn silk being pulled through teeth. I grabbed my shotgun and ran next door. The Harwood house glowed orange from within, every window lit like a jack-o'-lantern. The front door stood open. On the porch swing sat Mrs. Harwood, Laura, rocking slow. Her belly was swollen huge, though she'd never been pregnant. Something inside her moved in waves, rustling. She smiled at me with teeth too white. "Ruth," she whispered, voice papery, "we're almost ready for dinner. Come in. There's room for one more." Inside, the dining room table stretched longer than the house should allow. Chairs kept appearing, 1, 2, 7, 12, old hand-carved ones I recognized from farms that had burned down decades ago. Every seat held a body. Tom sat at the head, split open from sternum to groin. Pale yellow kernels poured from the cavity in a steady stream, rooting into the floorboards, sprouting upward into new stalks right before my eyes. His boys sat beside him, mouths sewn with golden silk, eyes rolled white. Their fingers had elongated into green husks that tapped the table in perfect rhythm. Tap, 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 counting. Laura waddled in carrying a platter. On it lay Ethan, curled, fetal, skin translucent. You could see the corn growing inside him, shoots pushing against his ribs, tassels unfurling from his nostrils. He was still alive. His eyes found mine and begged. That's when the corn mother stepped through the back door. She was taller than the ceiling allowed, made of braided stalks and shadow, crowned with a pumpkin carved into Laura's smiling face. Hollow eyes burned soft and orange. Her arms were endless rows of corn, every ear opening at once to reveal tiny screaming mouths where kernels should be. She spoke without moving the pumpkin lips. The voice came from the walls, from the floor, from inside my own skull. One ear was promised. They took the last. Debt compounds with interest. She needed new soil, rich soil, blood and memory and marrow. She began with the children, the silk stitches ripped free. The boys opened their mouths and vomited bushels of corn, wet, hot, steaming. It piled on the table, formed itself into the shape of a woman, then collapsed again. over and over faster until the table cracked down the middle. Tom tried to stand. The stalks inside him tightened, yanked him back into the chair like a puppet. Roots burst through his feet, anchoring him forever. Laura laid her hands on her swollen belly and sang a lullaby my own mother used to hum while shucking corn. As she sang, her stomach split along a perfect seam. Out poured not a baby, but a perfect ear of corn, huge, blood red, still growing. It rolled across the floor and stopped at my boots. The corn mother bent low. The pumpkin face tilted toward me. Your family kept the bargain for generations, Ruth Ann, but bargains end when someone forgets. I raised the shotgun. The barrels filled with silk before I could pull the trigger. It poured down my throat, sweet and choking. Last thing I saw before the dark took me, the corn mother placing that final red ear in the center of the table like a centerpiece. Then every candle in the house went out at once. I woke at dawn in my own bed, sheets soaked with dew and something thicker. My mouth tasted of iron and summer. On my nightstand sat a single-place card written in sap, Our Carver Seat 13. Outside, the fields are empty. All of them, not a stalk left standing anywhere in the county. Just black soil turned fresh, steaming in the cold, waiting. Tonight is Thanksgiving. I can already smell the butter melting. The table is set for 13. And somewhere in the distance, the first green shoot is breaking the surface, reaching for moonlight. If you're listening to this after dusk, wherever you are, check your fields, check your plates, count the chairs, because she never forgets a debt. And she's very, very hungry this year. Happy Thanksgiving, darlings. Mind the last ear.